Most men don't realize this, but every time you say you're beautiful, something quietly dies, not attraction, not interest, impact, because beauty is expected, it's heard everywhere, and when something is expected, it stops being felt. What women crave isn't another compliment. It's to feel seen in a way no one else has seen them before. To feel understood without having to explain themselves. Tonight, I'm going to tell you the one truth most men never hear. A truth that changes how women feel around you forever. If you stay till the end, you'll never say those words the same way again. Comment your location where you're watching from, subscribe to the channel for more real talk that hits deeper. When most men say you're beautiful, it sounds kind, but psychologically, it's lazy. Not because the intention is bad, but because the mind behind it hasn't done any work. Beauty is the most obvious observation you can make about someone. It's surface level, instantly available, and requires no emotional presence. And the human brain, especially when it comes to attraction, is wired to discount what feels easy and expected. When a woman hears the same phrase from dozens of men, it stops registering as meaning. It becomes background noise. Pleasant, maybe, but forgettable. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Compliments only carry weight when they reveal effort. When someone feels that you noticed something others missed, their nervous system responds differently. They lean in, not because you praised them, but because you proved you were paying attention. You're beautiful doesn't do that anymore. It doesn't separate you from the crowd. It places you squarely inside it. And attraction, by nature, is about distinction. Think about it philosophically. Value is created by rarity and intention. Anything abundant loses perceived worth, no matter how nice it sounds. This is why praise without depth often feels hollow. It flatters the ego, but doesn't engage the soul. And most men confuse ego stimulation with emotional connection. They assume admiration equals attraction. It doesn't. Attraction is a response to being recognized, not being rated. Psychologically, people bond with those who reflect their inner world back to them. When you default to appearance-based compliments, you bypass the part of her identity that actually wants to be understood. Her choices, her resilience, her way of seeing the world. You stay safe on the surface because going deeper feels risky. But safety rarely creates desire, presence does, and here's where most men miss the lesson. The problem isn't the phrase itself. The problem is what it reveals about your awareness. If the best thing you can say is what everyone else already says, you signal that you're reacting, not perceiving. You're consuming, not engaging. That energy is felt instantly, even if it's never verbalized. Women don't remember the man who noticed their face. They remember the man who noticed their patterns, who recognized their discipline, their contradictions, their quiet strength. That kind of observation requires you to slow down, to be present, to actually see, and presence is rare. That's why it's powerful. So the shift isn't about finding better words. It's about becoming someone who notices better things. When your attention sharpens, your language naturally follows. And when your language carries intention, it creates impact without effort. If you want to stand out, stop saying what's obvious and start speaking from awareness. Because the moment someone feels truly seen, attraction stops being a choice and becomes a response. Attraction doesn't begin with praise. It begins with understanding. This is where most men get it wrong. They believe saying something positive is enough, as if attraction is a reward system where compliments earn interest. But the human psyche doesn't work that way. People don't feel drawn to those who applaud them. They feel drawn to those who understand them. Praise can be pleasant, but understanding feels intimate, and intimacy is what creates emotional gravity. When you compliment someone's appearance, you are responding to what's visible. When you acknowledge how they think, decide, or move through the world, You are responding to who they are. That difference matters more than most people realize. Psychology shows us that humans are wired to bond through recognition. We feel closest to the people who articulate something about us that we haven't fully put into words ourselves. That moment creates emotional safety and excitement at the same time. It says, "You see me," and not "I approve of you." Most men aim for flattery because it feels safer. Insight requires attention, it requires patience, it requires the willingness to be wrong, and that vulnerability is exactly why it works. When you notice how someone handles pressure, how they stay composed when things are uncertain, or how they remain kind when it would be easier not to, you are speaking to their identity. You are telling them that their internal world matters more than their external presentation. That lands deeper than any surface-level praise ever could. Philosophically, admiration is external. Understanding is relational. Admiration places you at a distance, looking at someone. Understanding places you beside them, experiencing them. That shift changes the entire emotional dynamic. One creates hierarchy, the other creates connection, and attraction grows faster in connection than it ever does in comparison. There's also something important happening beneath the surface. When you demonstrate understanding, you signal emotional intelligence. You show that you're not just reacting to stimuli, but interpreting meaning. That ability is rare, and rarity creates value. It tells the other person that being around you will feel different, calmer, more grounded, more real. People are drawn to those who make them feel emotionally understood, because it reduces internal friction. It allows them to relax into who they already are. This is why generic praise fades quickly. It doesn't anchor itself to memory. But moments of being understood do. They create reference points. She may forget what you said about her appearance, but she will remember how you made sense of her. She will remember that you noticed her consistency, her courage, her restraint, her depth. And memory is where attraction actually lives. So the real shift isn't learning clever lines. It's training your attention. It's choosing to observe before you speak, to listen before you comment, to value comprehension over commentary. When you do that, your words naturally carry weight because they're rooted in truth, not performance. And here's the reflection to leave with. Stop trying to impress and start trying to understand. Because the moment someone feels genuinely understood by you, attraction doesn't have to be forced. It emerges on its own. There's one more layer most men never consider, and it's the layer that quietly determines how every word they say is received. Confidence is not volume. It's not bravado, and it's not saying impressive things at the right time. Real confidence is restraint. It's the ability to choose words instead of reaching for them, and the moment you do that, people feel it. When a man relies on generic compliments, it usually signals uncertainty, not insecurity in a dramatic sense, but a subtle lack of grounding. He's searching for approval, hoping his words will create a reaction that reassures him. That energy is unmistakable. Even when the compliment is kind, it carries need. And need, psychologically, shifts the power dynamic. Attraction rarely grows in that space. Emotionally intelligent communication works in the opposite direction. It's slow, it's deliberate. It comes from presence, not urgency. When you speak from that place, you're not trying to impress. You're expressing an observation you trust. That trust in your own perception is what signals confidence. You're not asking for validation. You're offering insight, and insight feels solid. Philosophically, this comes down to authorship. Are you authoring the moment or reacting to it? Men who default to predictable praise are reacting. They see something, feel something, and immediately verbalize it. There's no pause, no filter, no choice. But leadership in any interaction starts with the ability to hold space, to slow the moment down. to decide what actually matters before speaking. When you do that, your words take on a different quality. They're fewer, but they land harder. You don't fill silence because you're comfortable inside it. You don't over-explain because you trust what you've said. That calm certainty is deeply attractive because it creates emotional safety. People relax around someone who isn't chasing outcomes. This is also where emotional intelligence becomes visible. Anyone can complement appearance. It requires no awareness. But recognizing timing, context, and emotional state requires attunement. Saying the right thing at the right moment signals that you're present, regulated, and socially grounded. That combination is rare, and rarity creates intrigue. What most men don't realize is that attraction often forms before the compliment is even spoken. It forms in the pauses, in the eye contact, in the way you listen without interrupting. By the time you speak, the foundation has already been laid. The words are just confirmation. So the work isn't about finding better lines. It's about becoming more centered. About developing enough self-trust that you don't need to perform. When you speak from that place, even simple words carry weight because they're backed by presence. And here's the thought to sit with. The most attractive thing you can offer isn't a compliment at all. It's clarity. When your words reflect who you are instead of who you're trying to be, people feel it immediately, and that feeling is what they remember.